So good afternoon. My name is Kay Sargent, and I'm here with Mike, and we are going to share a little bit about our vision of work, the future of work, and how design firms should be prepared to address that. So I'm just going to tell you in advance that I'm going to do a little bit of the shock, and Mike gets to do a little bit of the awe. So we're going to kind of balance that out. But we want to dive in by just starting with kind of stating the obvious that this virus has had a huge impact on all of us. And it is giving us an opportunity to really rethink not just work, but workplace and the workforce. Now, even before COVID hit, we started to question the amount of disruption that was happening in the industry and started to ask, is this our industry's Kodak moment? Is this an inflection point for us? And then COVID hit. And I think the answer, quite frankly, is it could be if we don't pivot fast enough to understand what's happening. So what we mean when we talk about that Kodak moment is, Kodak invented digital photography, but they made all their money on film. And so they didn't want to change the status quo because, well, that's just the way it happens, right? And then, of course, digital photography shot up. Nobody really buys film anymore. And as a company, they really were decimated by their inability to look at what was happening around them and to really hold on to that. And so, I think we're going to argue that today we in the interior design profession are in a very, very similar position. We know that things are changing. We know that there are certain things that aren't working for our clients, and we know that there's a lot of things on the horizon, and that every other industry has been massively disrupted. If you think about this, Airbnb has disrupted the hotel industry. Uber and Lyft have disrupted the transportation industry. Co-working started to interrupt our industry, but now COVID really has come in and also pivoted and kind of disrupted this. And so are we still functioning in a way that is as responsive to our clients as we need to be? So I'm going to ask you kind of a series of hypothetical questions that you can kind of answer in your own mind, but you're going to get the gist of where I'm going with this pretty quickly. I think the thing is that what are our clients' needs? We need to know that, because without them needing us and without us understanding them, that's the whole reason that we exist. And I think the question is, are we meeting our clients' needs today? So question number one, can companies get in and out of space as quickly as they need to? They come to me and say, you know what, I need space next week. Can we accommodate that? Or can they get out as quickly? I don't think the industry is doing a good job of addressing that right now. When things change, are the environments flexible and agile enough to change quickly? Again, I think there's a whole lot of our clients that have a lot of underutilized space, or that it's antiquated or out of date. Are meetings and gathering spaces working well? When was the last time you went into a meeting room and it was set up the way that you wanted and the technology worked perfectly fine and you were like, wow, this is a great space to be in? That doesn't happen as often as we would like. Are we leveraging technology to create better user experiences and giving users control? Let me frame that question a different way. If you are getting a better experience in your car because it's more tech savvy than your workplace, then this one gets a big X too. Do we have accurate information and data about how people are using space? What they're doing, if the space is working for them, etc. If the answer is no, then we can't manage it if you can't really measure it, and we don't really know what's happening, so it's hard for us to make predictions about where we're going. Our space is really designed to support well-being, physical and mental health. No, they're actually making some of those worse. Are we designing to truly be sustainable? Are we really addressing climate change and dealing with embedded carbon? Or are we checking the box, doing the bare minimum to get that certification or that plaque on the wall? I'm going to argue that we could be doing a lot more, and we need to be doing a lot more. Are we supporting and enabling people to work everywhere, not just in the office, but can they truly work wherever they need to be working? Or did most of us have to kind of jerry-rig our own setup so that we could function? Are we addressing diversity and inclusion? Are we creating spaces that make everyone feel welcome and equally welcome in those spaces? I think over the last year, we have all realized that there's a lot of work that we have to do to truly make spaces more accessible and diverse and welcoming to all. And can our clients flip furniture as quickly as they need to meet their evolving needs? Can they leverage that new product information that's coming out? Can they provide those refresh opportunities? Is the space as nimble as it needs to be? Okay. I'm going to argue for a lot of our clients, the answer to every single one of these is no, but this is what our clients need. And so if we're not meeting our clients' basic needs, then our industry and what we do needs to shift, because the future of work is shifting. And so I'm going to share a little bit about what we think kind of that vision is. And we've done a lot of ideating. We got a whole lot of people together from inside our company, from outside of HOK, from across young emerging design talent to more seasoned professionals. And we got together and we really thought about what is happening and where is this all going. And the aha moment for us really is this notion that all of our clients are saying we need to return to the office, right? Or when can we return to the office? Well, why do you want to return to something that wasn't working that great in the first place? And it's not even just an office anymore, right? We need to reimagine and create this whole ecosystem of spaces, because that is organically what we've been going towards. And we need to acknowledge when I say, why do you want to return to something that wasn't working well in the past? We need to be brutally honest. A lot of the things that are on this page, we weren't dealing with well before. We weren't really truly addressing well-being as much and as comprehensively as we needed to, nor were we dealing with sustainability. A lot of our clients have a lot of inflexible, underutilized space. We're not dealing with social inequity. Cleanliness has always been an issue. Just COVID shined a spotlight on something that has always existed. And now, of course, we all are acutely aware of it and will always be, but that has always been an issue that we've had to deal with. The workforce is changing. It's becoming much more of a liquid workforce, and it has been evolving that way over the last 10 or 15 years. That it's not just about being productive, right? Everybody talks about how do we measure productivity. Innovation doesn't happen because you make the same thing faster. It's because you break the mold and you do something differently. We go back to those disruptors that I talked about before. Airbnb or Uber or Lyft didn't do or produce something faster. They changed the expectation, they changed the experience, they innovated and evolved. And so the question is, can we really truly do that in the spaces and how we're functioning today? Are we really enabling social connection, meaningful social connections? And technology, I think before COVID even hit, most of us felt overwhelmed by the amount of technology that we were dealing with. But now, all the new products that are coming out because of COVID and to enable like low and no touch environments, there's just a whole plethora of new things that quite frankly are overwhelming a lot of us. So these are all things that we were struggling with before, if we want to be brutally honest with ourselves, and we cannot forget. And as we move forward, we need to address these and start putting some of these things to rest. And when we talk to our clients about what are your biggest concerns, what are your real issues, these are the top 5 that we're really starting to see, whether it's health, remote work, purpose of place, resiliency, and environmental and social governance. So just to kind of unpack each one of those: health, well-being, and safety. And it's not just our physical, it's our mental, it's our emotional, it's our cognitive health, safety, and well-being. These are our fundamental instincts. And right now, this is the biggest concern that every company is dealing with, because if it wasn't, we'd all be sitting next to each other in an office, right? And so this pandemic has shown a light on what is a massive concern, because 80% of a company's money is going to their people. If your people aren't happy, healthy, engaged, and empowered, they're not going to be producing or innovating for you. And so this is really, truly, I think, everybody's #1 concern. The second thing is, okay, now everybody's working remotely, or a lot of people are working remotely, and what does that mean? And can we continue that? And have we been able to be productive? And what about performance? And what does this mean for connections and social capital? And I think a lot of people are totally rethinking this. Now, I'd argue that we've been working remotely for 20 or 30 years. This is not new. But what is new is the scale that it's happening at, and the fact that now, because we've gone on for such an extended period of time, that this is becoming core in a lot of companies, and it's hit a new level of acceptance that will make it easier for people to do this going forward. So then that begs the question that a lot of people are saying, well, if I can work remotely, do I even need an office? And what is the purpose of place? And so I think, we would argue that there is a strong purpose of place. And I think most people realize, yes, place does have a purpose. We are social beings. We like coming together. We want to be together. But does it have to be everything to everyone? Or do we need to narrow the focus? And I think this is a big aha moment for us as well. And Mike's going to share more about this. But, having a strong purpose of place and designing it to be a compelling enough environment that you want to go to is really important today. And then, of course, companies and the C-suite are concerned about their business resiliency. Can we innovate? Are we agile? How do we stay relevant? How do we attract the best and the brightest? How do we function? Can we put everybody in one location? And what happens if they get exposed to something and then, we lose our ability to function or to be resilient? And then, of course, over the last year, environmental, social, and governance issues have really kind of come to a head. They've been bubbling up for the last several years. But in the last year, there's been a massive push about really addressing climate change and about dealing with social inequity in space. And so these are all things that we have seen. And from all of this work, I'm going to let Mike share some of the key findings from the research and the report that we've done. So Mike, over to you.
Yeah, so again, these are some of the key findings that we discovered, and returning to the office of yesterday is not the answer. We need a new system where the office is replaced with an ecosystem of spaces, and we'll kind of dive into that in a little bit. We need to empower people with options and choices designed to fit today's needs. We need to shift from fixed to fluid and create environments agile enough to meet our needs as they evolve. We need to rethink the purpose of place and create compelling environments that provide purpose and entice people to be present. Access is the new ownership. If you don't need to own it, then don't. We need to consider leveraging the community, shared economy, and emerging membership models that meet our needs. We need to leverage technology more effectively to enable better user experience, control, reduce touch points, and create more responsive spaces that cater to individuals rather than forcing people to adapt to space themselves.
Thanks, Mike. So what this means when we start to kind of reimagine those possibilities is we start to see this evolution to this home, spoke, hub model where people can fluidly move between all of these spaces. Because in a sense, what is emerging right now is really kind of this hybrid or ecosystem. And the home really might be the place where you're doing kind of, whether it's heads down, concentrative, you're kind of focusing in on your ability. But one of the things I would say is that we don't encourage people to sit in one place in the office all day. We don't encourage you to do it at home. And I think one of the things we're starting to see is the longer this is going on, people on average working 1 to 2 hours longer a day, not a week, a day, because they're just kind of taking that commute time and rolling it right into their business time. And we're sitting stagnantly in one place. And so we really need to think about that impact. And so when we address the home, it's not as simple as just saying, hey, create this perfect desk in your house where you can sit. We actually encourage you to move around. You can sit at the dining room table, when you're sorting papers, or go outside if you need to take a phone call, or if you're listening or taking something in, maybe you're sitting on the couch, or if you live in an apartment or a smaller space, right? You might have a different type of a setup, but we really need to kind of create this ecosystem and these options and choices in the home environment themselves.
Yeah, and some of the benefits that we've been experiencing while we've been working from home is obviously we're limiting exposure to others. We're keeping our bubble tight. We have choice and flexibility when it comes to schedule. You know, we can pop down to the gym real quick and do a 30-minute workout. You know, you could throw a load of laundry in between calls. People are more likely to have access to outdoor space. There's definitely greater environmental impacts with the lack of people commuting. There is increased productivity, but on the flip side, studies have shown that employees' presenteeism has decreased. And we need to also consider the kit of parts when working from home. Ergonomics is still very important to employee productivity. So companies should be leveraging their buying power to support ergonomics through stand desks, chairs. And we need to create home setups that support innovation and bring back some of these rituals that we've been missing from being in the office, like grabbing, you know, virtual coffee with a coworker, bringing movement back into our day instead of sitting in one place all day, and kind of try to recreate the positive things that are missing from the traditional office experience while we are at home.
Hey, Mike, a fascinating fact is, you know, they recommend that you work 10,000 steps a day, right? Or you walk 10,000 steps a day. And
I'm averaging like 50.
Right. Well, before COVID, the average American was really only hitting about 3,500, to 4,000 steps a day. During COVID, it's plummeted to about 1,000 steps a day, right? Because, how many times can you walk back and forth to the kitchen or to the bathroom or, whatever. And so I think one of the things Mike was talking about is we need to find ways, whether it's standing, moving, kind of being active is really, really important. So the second element of this is kind of the spoke, okay? And the spoke is really kind of that point between the home and the what we might call the hub, or what used to be the office, because we need to be honest, not everybody can work from home. Not everybody wants to work from home. It's not sane or safe for some people to work from home. And a lot of us just want to be around other people. We thrive off of that energy, right? But I don't necessarily want to sit in my car for an hour to commute downtown to be exposed to the masses to do that. So these spokes are casual community-based locations that you can work. Now, depending on the size of your company, they can vary significantly. Some of our large clients in New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Hong Kong, London have done zip code analysis, identified where they have groups of people, and taken spaces in urban locations or taken over co-working spaces that are kind of faltering and created a company-controlled spoke. In others, for some of our clients, it's a regional office. For some of our clients, it's, I'll give you an allowance to go work at a local co-working space. Or, I might just decide on my own, I need to get out of the house, to go to the office, so I'm going to go to Starbucks or Panera or something like that, that might be my spoke. For me personally, airports are my spokes, or at least they were and will be again, because that's where I spend a lot of my time in between those, right? And so the spoke really addresses kind of this multitude of things that people are looking for today. In the arrival zone, we're going to have some greeting spaces. We're going to have different ways for people to be commuting. You might be more likely to ride your bike or a scooter or walk to some of these spaces. But it needs to give me something I can't give at home. And that might be whether it's a wellness suite or support spaces, or just food options. Maybe I just want to go eat with other people, or I want to connect with my team, and so I want to have a neighborhood area where I can meet with my team or information sharing, or it's a place that I can casually meet with my coworkers, customers, really kind of address some of those shared amenities that we want, or some of that upgraded technology. And then also having access to outdoor space is really, really important. But Mike's going to share a little bit when we come to outdoor space. There's some key things that are really important in making that successful. And so the benefits of the spoke, Mike.
Yeah, so the benefits that Kay was just mentioning is they provide more professional meeting settings and provide people with better access to technology, and quite frankly, some of the technology that you probably wouldn't want in your own home. You want, some of that separation. Proximity to home in the suburban areas, acoustical privacy, ability to step away from this quiet heads down space that you might not be able to get at home. And it's really providing opportunities for to alleviate the environment that you don't have the ability to have in your apartment or your house. And spokes tend to be a cheaper real estate solution, and they're more likely to have an outdoor space as well.
Okay, and then the third element of all of this is kind of the hub, right? And the hub becomes kind of the heart, the soul, the physical embodiment of a company's culture. It's where you might go for the more premier experience or a higher level of engagement. And so the elements really within this is, you have the arrival zone. And again, arrival zones are going to be very, very different going forward, whether it's screening or sanitation. You also need to think about the fact that lobbies are going to evolve because they're going to be activated. Because if I don't have to have somebody go through my screening or into my elevators or even come into my space, then that actually helps reduce exposure. And so we might create more meeting spaces in those public lobby areas so that we don't have to have people coming into our space. But we also, again, micro transportation might be something we need to think about. And again, those services. One of the great things is maybe that concierge service, right? Right now, when we're at home, we have to do everything ourselves. We're making our own cup of coffee. We're trying to print our own stuff. And so a lot of people just, can you please just take care of some of this stuff for me? And so having that concierge service that can do those things for you might be really nice. And we also need to realize that in a hub, you might have people that are coming from other locations, that are traveling people. It might be a place where if people are coming from out of town or your clients, this is where you're meeting. And so having that VIP suite space or refresh or recomposure areas is important. And then of course, there's a lot of talk about how these hubs really become about gathering, but very rarely are we solely gathering for 8 hours straight. Okay, maybe sometimes it feels like that. But we often are, we need to take an email or take a phone call or pop over here and address some things. And so we still need kind of those heads down spaces as well. So it's a combination of areas where teams can come together and lots of information sharing, services, we can eat together, we can connect together, we can continue that meeting over, a cup of coffee. But I can also pop in and take a phone call and or attend, multi-purpose meeting or learning spaces. It also is an opportunity to get the best technology, right? So this might be where we have that virtual reality, the augmented reality, or the great interactive wall, or the think tank innovation space, or the podcast areas, or the maker spaces, or the specialty equipment that we don't have at home and or we may not have in our spokes. And it also, again, gives you opportunities for those outdoor spaces.
So again, the hub is all about connection, community, and mentorship. And mentorship is something that, as I talk to my team members, especially the younger ones, they're feeling like this is, really suffering in the work from home experience because they're not able to just, sit in on meetings and listen and, have those casual collisions. The hub is all about being seen and, again, providing those opportunities for ad hoc collaboration, which will lead to innovation and co-creation. It has a buzz and energy, and it's connecting to the greater group.
So in all of this, the purpose of place really becomes critical, because what is compelling enough about a spoke or an office that's going to make me get up and want to leave my house? If the answer is nothing, then I'm not going to. And I think the lesson that we've learned from companies that have had really robust remote work programs over the last 2 decades is that you have to create great spaces that are worth people coming to.
So one of the main items that will drive the purpose of place is the new amenities, offering those new amenities that will drive people back into their offices. The next one is bringing life back into the office through space that ignites others' creativity and engagement, celebrating those unplanned moments that can't happen when you schedule a 30-minute Teams meeting or Zoom meeting to have that collaboration. And the final is the chance to accelerate your digital leverage with new technology that you don't have at home. And some features to consider when thinking about the purpose of place is brand messaging. Brand messaging is important, and people definitely miss that in the work from home life. walls of fame, timelines, interactive brand messaging, being able to tell your company's story and kind of tying back into the company's values and missions. Movement and health and well-being. We really need to get back to embedding movement throughout the day. We kind of talked about this earlier. It's more than, just that 30-minute workout in the morning. Movement is critical, and we should create spaces that encourage movement throughout the day, almost like little destinations spread throughout the office. So you run into people that you wouldn't normally interact with. You're getting your steps in. You're clearing your mind in between meetings. You're not going from one Zoom meeting to the next with no break. Biophilia. Biophilia is more than just including plants in the design of the space. Many design elements can mimic those we find in nature. Taking this image, for example, you have the wood, natural material. Nothing really in nature is square. It's about organic shapes, movements. Ceilings can, diffuse lighting similar to that of, looking through light through a tree canopy. Visual textures, like the way the floor in this image is kind of mimicking water, kind of creating these ties to the natural environment that are kind of been missing from space. Again, the next spokes in co-working, it's the ability to connect with the brand and those who work within it in a more humanistic way without, having to go to a major hub center. The next, high touch. We're high touch beings, and it's in our nature to do so. And we're being told throughout the day right now that we cannot touch anything. Substance is important. People are craving authenticity, and passion for local and communities is key. Robotics definitely are going to be taking a more prevalent role in the office of the future, whether they're checking you in, providing food delivery, tracking you throughout the space. These types of features are going to be integrated more heavily into the space. The coffee shop, and as Kay was just mentioning in the hub example, how do we rethink that street level experience, a place where visitors and staff can use as a buffer to the office, have those meetings down there instead of having to go through the new protocol of, temperature checks and screening and, bag swiping and such. And how do we activate these empty lobbies? And, you could do that through blended programming, supporting local restaurants and local food suppliers, connect with these local nuances in a meaningful way and partner with passion. A series of pop-ups, not over-branded, but continually changing and evolving. Through social channels, having the ability to engage with consumers and people through social media platforms, having moments that are digital throughout the space that allow for these connections. Outdoor space, and it's more, it's more than just providing, an adjacent park. There needs to be usable outdoor space where people can sit and work with fans, electricity, ergonomics, places where you can have walking meetings. So these spaces become more usable and functional. And the final one is gather. And I think this is something that, we're all missing right now, is these event spaces, these town halls, the stadium stairs, these large architectural gestures, the awe moments where you really can get a sense of, your community, your work team, everybody that is making up the company. And it's, providing these moments of connection and really create the purpose of place.
Thanks, Mike. That was a great awe moment for all of us to kind of see some of those beautiful imageries and the way that we're really kind of projecting, how things are going to move going forward. So what does this mean for the design profession? And, I think our services are shifting. And, some of what I'm about to share is, obvious, and, we probably do a lot of this already, but other ones, I think we need to go all in on. And I think we as a design profession really need to think about what are we providing for our clients? What are those true needs? And so the first one, I think, is really talking to our clients about creating this ecosystem of spaces, this hybrid environment that everyone is chatting about, and that we're creating compelling enough sense of purpose that makes each one of those elements successful. That we're also talking about activity-based adoption and giving users more options and choice and controls as we go forward. And that also means that we're dealing with remote work. And so what's happening right now is a lot of our clients are saying, all right, if we're gonna address remote work, then what are the policies and procedures that we need to put in place? Because what we have all learned is you can't just keep working organically that way forever. That you really do need to put some policies and procedures in place to make that be effective. And that also then means if people are coming into the office every single day, then do we need to assign work groups? And the answer is probably not. And that we need to rethink what we're really doing to maybe a little bit less real estate, but the real estate is more towards that specific. The next one is really tech integration and upgrades, and what are we doing as far as technology and how are we doing that? And there's a whole plethora of low to no touch products that are hitting the market. There are a ton of apps that are starting to come out now about giving users more control. And I think this is where we're starting to emerge into what we would call sensor 2.0, which is rather than all those sensors and the Internet of Things just looking down on us and giving data to someone, we actually can tap into that to find a better experience. So if I'm sitting in a spot and I'm too cold or it's too loud or I'm not near my coworkers or I want a better work point, I can easily go on an app, tap into it and find where is something that is more suited to my specific needs. Addressing diversity and inclusivity for all. And we've done a tremendous amount on the topic of neurodiversity, but we really need to think about how are we creating spaces? And it's not just about inviting different people into our organizations and having diverse organizations. It's about making them feel welcome and included and empowered once they are there so that they will actually stay and we get that full benefit. We really need to think about well-being, human sustainability, and ergonomic solutions. And I think right now, I tend to be one that doesn't focus too much on ergonomic solutions because I always believe that the best solution is your next solution and the best ergonomic solution is to move. But if you're in a situation where you have a limited real estate and you are sitting in one place for an extended period of time, then ergonomics becomes absolutely critical. And I think most people sitting at home are not. And the longer this goes on, the more of an impact it is having on people's physical well-being. And also we need to address people's mental well-being because there's a lot of people that are feeling very, very isolated right now. And so creating environments that really support that is important. For the last several years, we've been talking a lot about experience design. Well, now is the time that it is not the ad, it is not the extra, it is embedded in everything that we do, branding, wayfinding, signage. And I would argue again, that the last thing we want to do is throw up signs all over the place and that just yell out danger, 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 right? That we should be designing spaces that are more intuitive, that have that intuitive wayfinding, that branding, that you walk into an environment and the purpose and the soul and the culture of that company are so obvious to you, you can't miss it. You are dipped in that and you can navigate your way through the space through the elements and principles of design that we as designers embrace, and that signage is used where necessary, but it's not the first go-to, right? So it's really about seamlessly creating all those things. We need to address security and preparedness. We can no longer pretend that corporate America is not a target. In the last 4 years, they have had to step up in a way that has been different than the past. They have had to make a stance. And now most companies are not dealing with a trifecta. It's kind of the 4 different things that are impacting them. They are dealing with cyber attacks. They're dealing with climate change that is bringing more natural disasters. They are dealing with a pandemic. And they are dealing with domestic terrorists and or civil unrest. And the second these companies make a stand or pull funding or turn somebody off of their platforms, they're putting a target on their backs for people that may not agree with that. And they are softer targets than government targets. And so we really, truly need to be talking to our clients about, are you really, truly prepared and secure for the things that we might be facing in the coming years? And then of course, file and storage assessments, right? So if we're going to these new minimalized workspaces, and I say that because it's kind of a forced minimalized, we have to put things away so that they aren't getting contaminated or there are less things to clean. That means that we need to really assess and maybe perhaps increase the file and or storage capacity in some of these, or get rid of it altogether and just go digital. But we need to address it as we go forward. We need to address stylization because we do not want to create minimalized workspaces that are so sterile that they are not friendly or welcoming and they don't feel comfortable to be in. And so that stylization that I think really brings a space to life is really, really critical and important for us to be dealing with. We need to dig deeper into gathering spaces. We need to really think about the fact that over the years, we've done a really good job of starting to think about work style profiling and what are people really doing, but we don't do that for meeting rooms. And there are really 7 different types of meetings. Some are low tech, some are no tech, some are high tech, some are low commitment, some are high commitment. You know, I mean, the way that we design a meeting for a law firm that is, you know, litigating versus HR that is counseling versus a creative agency that is ideating and innovating and creating, those are 3 very different types of gathering. Yet most meeting rooms are a rectangular room with the biggest table you can fit it in and the maximum number of chairs. And that just doesn't cut it anymore. So we as a profession need to get a lot better in that realm, or we're not really going to be meeting our clients' needs. And the last thing is telling our clients that we can get them into space in 6 to 9 months just doesn't cut it for a lot of our clients anymore. You know, yes, there are some that want highly customized solutions, but there are a lot of clients that just need to get in and they need to get in quickly. And so we really need to start thinking about what are these expedited delivery models that we can start leveraging to start addressing some of these needs of our clients today. Because we believe at the end of the day, we are truly no longer just designing environments. We're designing the entire experience. And we really have an opportunity right now to think about what the future of workplace can be, because the entire world is asking us that question. And it's not just about workplace, it is about the workforce and it is about work. This is a golden opportunity for us as a profession to act with courage and to say, we have answers and we can help you get there. So thank you for listening to Mike's and my vision and HOK's vision of the future of work.